Welcome back, superstars. We're here talking about money stories and limiting beliefs about finance in entrepreneurs. I'm here with Keith Kohler, my friend, my client, my colleague, and the expert, my go-to expert, anything having to do with finance and financing. So Keith, we've talked about debt financing, equity financing, how to get a loan, how to prepare to get a loan, how to look more attractive to get the yes. Now let's dive into this other part of the conversation. Let's talk about the mindset, the importance of the mindset, and what gets in the way in terms of entrepreneurial mindset as it relates to money.
Absolutely. It's a big topic, Michelle, and I had never even really thought of. And I really have you to thank for it and the group that you've assembled, because I used to think about financing as just the technical aspects of it. Like, you go prepare to get a loan. It's objective. And then, surprise, when I started talking about what I do within our group, I started hearing some different things I'd never heard of.
Right.
One of the big breakthrough moments for me was when I talked about finance and I said, what does that mean to you? And I got back the words, judgment. Hate it. It'll never work for me.
And you're talking about in a group of entrepreneurs.
In a group of entrepreneurs.
People were having this reaction to your simple, objective money
viewpoint.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think in the larger scheme of things in the ecosystem, we're usually taught that money is this objective, discrete, technical aspect, right, of our lives, that it can't have an emotional component.
But we know.
We know a lot better now, right? And so as I heard those words being expressed to me, and here's the pandemic where there's a lot more uncertainty. Right? So here I hear that in your group, then my business pivots to help people with the PPP loans and the EIDL loans, and this was in the spring of 2020, everyone. So my core business of financing was disrupted, and I was really forced to pivot to help people with those types of loans. And so now all of a sudden, here I have people talking to me who were used to that traditional technical way of looking at finance, and now they're telling me, Keith, I'm going to lose my business. Or, I never had to worry about this before. It was always just kind of like autopilot. Or, for the first time now I have to pay attention to this. So now all of these other people are struggling, and by them vulnerably sharing with me what their stories were, combined with the work that we do, then I said, wow, I really get to explore this. And I feel really called into service to talk about these mindset issues. So I had never heard of the term money stories before. I didn't know about it. And then it comes up in our group. I do a little research, and money stories in the personal finance world are extremely well covered. You see it in literature. You've probably heard of them for many, many years, right? I had not. I just hadn't seen it. So as I did the research and I looked around, I said, great, it's all personal finance money stories. Wait a minute, I can create intellectual property and my own point of view on how money stories show up in a business setting.
We've been talking about how to get financing. How do limiting beliefs and money stories show up when people are trying to grow their businesses and considering financing to do it?
Yeah, it's a terrific question, and really where money stories usually start is in the early stages. When you're first starting your business. And in your early stages, maybe in your first 1 to 2 years, they tend to have an outsized influence. And the reason is because when you're starting your business, where else are you going to start but what you think about money personally? Right. It starts there. And so again, your outsized influence, like using that imaginary Venn diagram in the sky, there's that overlap between your personal attitudes about money and your business attitudes. And over time, if you do the work, they can grow apart as they should, so that the way you think about managing your personal money is distinct and discrete from the way you manage your business money. That being said, the types of money stories I see a lot of, usually originate in scarcity. And they're almost always formed in our childhood or through trauma of family experiences. And my personal money story that I had to come over was, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. And it's still something I struggle with even multiple years into my business. And the I'm not worthy showed up because I had money taken away from me. or
as a child,
or
you didn't
I
get
was
paid for
I didn't get paid, yeah, or I
Mm-hmm.
was meant to feel like I wasn't deserving of receiving money for either achievement or a milestone birthday or something like that. And it's wild. It's really, and in fact, and not until I started coming up with this work did I realize what my own money stories were.
Wow. So money stories, just to clarify, they're like the beliefs that we hold about money formed in our childhood that then we project onto whatever, including our business.
That's the perfect definition, and that's how it indeed plays out in practice. So what I often find is so many of my clients will start saying those triggering phrases. In fact, a young person reached out to me the other day. She's getting financing for a business, and she wrote in the email, Keith, it's time for us to talk again because this feels overwhelming to me. And that's it. It can feel overwhelming. So that's her current money story.
Is that dealing with money is overwhelming.
Right.
Okay. Or even dealing with growing her business is overwhelming,
right?
It can apply to a lot of different things.
Yeah, so that's my opportunity to work with her and to help her move beyond that particular money story. So that's basically how that shows up. And then I said, okay, if that's where money stories are, what are the limiting beliefs that tend to show up in the way people manage their business? And I have them here, and I'm going to, do you mind if I go through them quickly with you?
What is this that you're looking at
here, everyone, Keith? This is my Making the Numbers Work for You workbook. It's part of my retreat, and this is essentially the content that I take people through.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome.
So as to not miss any of them, I wanted to make sure I shared all of them with you. Or we'll highlight some of the top ones that could be interesting. So one of the most important ones I hear frequently is, I'm just not good with numbers.
Right.
I'm just not good with numbers.
People think that money is mathematics. And yes, there's a mathematical component, but it doesn't require you to be great with math or numbers to be good with money.
That's exactly right. It's what's important for you and any business owner is that you understand your numbers, which is why I place a lot of emphasis on how you form your finance team. Your bookkeeper, your CPA, or anyone who has an influence on how you manage your business money. You don't have to create the numbers. You don't have to account for the numbers, but I really hope you know and understand them, especially how they can be applied for decision making.
Well, let me tell you, it's a lot easier to understand them than to organize them.
100%.
And, as long as you've got somebody else doing it for you, it's pretty easy to understand the basics. Revenue in, revenue out, gross profit, right?
That's it. And if you hire the right person who is patient, who's kind, who's aligned with you, and I mean aligned not just on your business, but also working for your personal objectives. Hopefully that person has the right attitude and the right fit with you so that you truly can say, I understand my numbers. I don't need to know how they calculated them or how they put together financial statements, but I know how they work, where they come from, and why and how I can apply them for the decision making in my business.
And that's all learnable.
That is 100% learnable. I refuse to believe, and I'm claiming it right here, I refuse to believe that someone cannot understand their numbers.
And if they can't, then maybe they shouldn't be an entrepreneur.
Well,
or if they're not willing to try, that's the key.
Right,
because if you're willing, you'll learn.
If you're willing, you're going to figure it out. If you're open, if you have the resources, if you have the team, you're much less likely to have issues on the downside.
All right, so that was the first one. What are some more money stories?
Another one, or another limiting belief is there are other more important priorities than finance.
Yeah, like getting stuff done, like getting the work out the door, like serving the client. I could see that. I could see where somebody would be like, okay, I'm going to put this off because I have these pressing things. But the problem is that ultimately the money thing becomes the most pressing thing.
It often can. And if you're not paying attention, what's going to happen is you're more likely to encounter the surprises. The fill in your favorite expletive moment. Right. But the other important priority is most people found their companies because they're excited about their product. They're sales and marketing people. They're the star of their show. So why wouldn't they be doing that? Because that's what they love. Right. And especially if finance is an F word for them or something they don't like. A four-letter word. It's something they're not going to pay attention to. Okay. So that's another one. Another one is my CPA has the answers.
Oh, okay. So like kind of outsourcing, delegating it.
Yeah, delegating it. And this person over here who could be completely misaligned with you might not be really serving you with your own business or personal objectives. But worse is if you don't have any familiarity with your financial statements or what's going on. Here's a really salient example. When you file a tax return, if there's an issue with your tax return, who's responsible for it?
You are.
You are. You sign that tax return. So if you don't understand what's on that tax return, it's not the CPA's fault. He or she could be making an egregious mistake.
Right.
A horrible one. And I had it happen to me. A couple of mistakes that had to be rectified. But that's my responsibility.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
So the head in the sand, or not really head in the sand,
Yeah.
like
kind of like
it.
you're shifting it out,
Yeah.
right? You're shifting out the responsibility. You're not saying, you're not bringing the accountability
buck
home.
stops here.
100%.
Okay.
Another one is exactly that. It's not my responsibility. I hired someone for that.
Right. Right.
If I'm paying for them, of course it's going to be perfectly done. What do I have to worry about?
Oh God, no.
Another one. You ready for this one, Michelle?
Yeah.
Limiting belief of finance number 5. Finance is for men.
Ooh, really? You get that?
I get that.
Wow. Okay.
I get that. Now,
Well, I can see that. You know, my family.
that's what I'm saying.
My dad
In a traditional
was the
setting,
one. Yeah.
and generationally,
Yeah. Yeah. I could totally see
yeah.
that.
When when I was growing up, I saw very few women in the finance field because it was considered that finance is men. I'd like to shift that a little bit. I put that there to really be a conversation starter and be provocative. We could expand it to say finance is pure masculine energy, that it can't have energetic components that maybe move beyond the polarity or that have traditionally feminine components. And I say, I'm calling bullshit on that, right? Now I think finance, again, properly understood, can combine all of those energies in a holistic way that makes sense for people. It doesn't have to be just that way.
I agree.
And yet, in that that generation that came before us, this is what they were thinking. And so I still see it showing up.
Yeah, it gets passed down.
It gets passed down, and we get to break that chain.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. All right, next one.
Next one. Why is there need to do any planning? I just put money in when it's needed, and I take it out when I need to.
Right. Okay.
No problem.
No projecting.
No projecting.
No forecasting.
Right.
No budgeting. I did that for a long time.
I did too.
I did that for a long time.
This was a part of me as well. It's like I have the cash in there, I can take it.
Yeah.
I don't have it, what am I going to do?
That's right. So it's almost like cash flow accounting in a sense.
That's correct.
You know, your bank statement accounting.
That's it. You're just thinking about cash in, cash out, and nothing more.
Right, which is a real problem, especially in the coaching industry, because a lot of times we get paid up front, but then we're delivering over the course of a whole year.
Absolutely.
So our expenses are spread out, but we're collecting it up front. And that's a big issue I see with coaches so much, is that they're always in a cash crunch, because then they have it, they spend it, and they forget that they really haven't earned it.
Yeah.
Yet.
And don't you find it's almost like they kind of have these short-term blinders on?
Yeah.
They can only see things in a small time frame.
Well, yeah, and also, yes, and most often the thing in the short-term mindset is just more money, get more money in.
Yeah, you sell your way out, right?
Sell your way out.
Versus even thinking about managing expenses or understanding what those could look like over some time period.
And I've been there, and I've done that. And that's my tendency. My tendency is to spend a lot when I have it, which is why I have, things in place to prevent that from happening now. I've got
Absolutely.
checks and balances.
Checks and balances are perfect. You're setting your standards for yourself, your own financing standards. Another one is I can figure it out by myself, or I have to figure it out by myself.
I used to spend hours and hours at the end of the year doing my own taxes.
Really?
I did. I did that. The first person I ever hired in my business was $300 a month, a bookkeeper. A bookkeeper who then ended up at the end of the year doing my taxes. It was the best $300 a month I ever spent. It's what gave me that first initial, and I couldn't afford it at the time, but I did it anyway, because my coach, who I wasn't even paying my coach at the time, I was trading for it. We'll talk about financing coaching later.
Yeah.
She's the one that insisted that I do it. And she's like, you're going to relieve yourself of so much stress and anxiety and time. It'll be more than worth it. And she was right.
I'm really glad that you did that, and you're setting up an important point for all of us. $300 might seem like a lot of money.
It was.
And it is. But the benefit of you having your peace of mind, of feeling like, wait a minute, I'm on top of something. So what can you do? You can make good decisions, right?
I could take those 10 hours a month or whatever I was spending and invest them in sales.
100%. So it can pay out because you're directing your focus on the activities, A, you love, and B, that are money making.
That's right.
Brilliant. Next one. Hey, I'm making money. I'm good.
All right. So
I'm good.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
need it.
Hey, I
Don't
can
need
pay
it
my bills. I can pay my mortgage, my car. My kids are in school. Whatever it is.
Well, what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
Well, it could keep you small.
Okay. Got it.
You might be missing out on a lot of opportunities
Upside.
that you could otherwise take advantage of.
Okay. So
And
you get
so-
comfortable. You're like,
comfortable.
I'm good. And there's something to be said for being happy where you are.
Right.
And
nothing wrong with that. I'm down with that.
If growth is something that you want, and you're complaining maybe that you don't have everything you want, or you're not making the impact that you want, then you can look at maybe moving beyond that comfort zone.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's really about uncovering all your upside potential, and if you wish, stepping into that.
If you wish, perfect.
Another one is finance is only for people with an accounting or a finance background.
Okay.
I'll never get it if I haven't studied accounting in some way, if I have no finance understanding, if my mother or father didn't work in the field. It's only for those people who specifically studied that.
Got it.
Well, I've got news for you. I failed my first accounting midterm at Wharton.
You did?
I did. It's not a badge of honor, but I'm here to tell you that then I started paying attention, and I did really well on my final exam.
Okay.
But even though I went into it thinking, a little bit triggered by looking at accounting again, and I have an MBA in finance, I can tell you, you really don't have to have that background to get comfortable and to get excited about managing your finances.
Beautiful.
Last one. I don't want to know.
Oh, I've been there too. The head in the sand. I don't want to look at it.
Yeah, I don't know.
That
it's right
sense
over
of
here.
anxiety.
Yeah. Right. Because what if I know? Because if I know if it's bad, I'm a fraud. I'm a horrible person. I don't know how to manage my business. I'm a failure. You can go right down that rabbit hole of all those horrible triggers that we know can hold us back. And yet, when you think of all of these different ones I told you, it's 1 in 10 are what I most frequently see. I'm not good with numbers, or I don't want to know.
I'll say I've been there as well. And every single time I've gotten to that point where I realize I'm doing that, it's because there's something there.
There is.
There's something there that needs to be broken through. I remember several years ago that I didn't want to. I had this salesperson / coach, and at the end of the year, I think maybe through my tax return, I realized I couldn't hide from it because it became very clear that she made more money than I did that year.
Oh wow, really? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was me, not wanting to look, and then at the end of the year came and confronted me. I had a big breakdown. She ended up leaving. Long story, it doesn't even matter. But ultimately, it allowed me to take my power back and restructure my business. It changed everything for the better.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that story, Michelle, because it really is true that the limiting beliefs of finance with money stories, they're fast friends. Yeah. You often see that the root of how that's showing up in your business has a root somehow in your money stories.
Yeah. The story was that she was better at sales and coaching than I was.
Yeah.
That limiting belief had me avoid looking at this because I didn't want to have to let her go. And I knew that's what needed to happen deep down, but I didn't want to because I was scared because I didn't think I was good enough. So I put up with this until I got confronted at the end of the year by she made more money than I did this year.
Did you find it had to be that one big shock moment?
It did. Yeah, that's often the way I roll.
It really is. I mean, how often do we make changes until it's either a huge shock to our system?
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Keith. This was so enlightening.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's fun.
So elucidating. This is the man that I go to and that I send my clients to when I have any sort of issue, question, challenge with money and financing. Highly recommend taking advantage of his special offer, yourfinancing.review.com. He'll sit with you for 30 minutes on Zoom and share with you, help you develop a vision for how you can grow for the next 2 or 3 years using financing.
Yeah, and you'll get from that a 2 to 3 year or longer term financing strategy of everything that you'll qualify for, the terms and conditions, and how that can work best for you and you growing your business.
Yay! Thank you, Keith.
So please reach out.